Whenever I tune into that God mode, what happens to me is that I just start to see reality as is. There is no elaboration. When I start doing that enough, I start to realize that nobody can actually ever leave me. If I'm here with myself, if this higher consciousness is always with myself right now, nobody can actually leave me. In this video, I want to talk about the fear of abandonment and how we can heal ourselves from feeling left or abandoned by the people we often care about or really are emotionally attached to some degree from. So if you are interested in healing yourself from the fear of abandonment, please stay tuned and let's get started. Alright, welcome back to this video. My name is Rab and I help people with their emotional as well as spiritual growth. Now I'm also offering this one-on-one coaching sessions if you want to work on changing your mindset or changing your self-image, and we can very well deal with the fear of abandonment if you feel like you're not comfortable to deal with it yourself. So the link is in the description box below if you want to check it out. But in this video, let's talk about how you can find some help right now to deal with this problem. Now, fear of abandonment is very similar to that of rejection. You feel hurt. You feel like people are not responding the way you were expecting them to. And there's some form of like this emotional as well as this energetic feeling that lies underneath it. But because of the fear itself, before you even get to that point of abandonment, you sabotage the relationship. That's the biggest difference between abandonment and rejection, which you have to be really aware of. Throughout my relationships, whether it be like romantic or even like close friendships, I've often experienced fear of abandonment. The more I feel like I'm attached to someone, the higher the chance of having this abandonment issues are. I've been in relationships, even romantic relationships, where it was a very secure form of relationship and I really wasn't emotionally, I don't want this to sound bad obviously, but I wasn't as emotionally invested because I already knew that they were always going to be there for me. And in those cases, the fear of abandonment was pretty much non-existent. However, in other relationships where I was giving a lot of importance to other people or their relationship or the closeness that I was craving from them, that's when the fear of abandonment became very real. And that's another thing. You often get attracted to people who aren't emotionally available to you, and you start becoming a little more clingy towards them, you know. Maybe in your life you might have these beliefs or these ideas, these thoughts in your head that you might think that people always leave you for whatever reasons. It keeps building up. These reasons might keep adding up because it's almost like this stuck energy, stuck emotions that's trapped inside of us. And the more we dwell on it and the more we try to actually be resistant or try to like hide away, like kind of like, you know, sweep the dirt under the carpet, the more it grows and it just becomes a part of our identity. And then we become this person who is always afraid that people are gonna leave them regardless of whatever the situation is. I've been working throughout this fear of abandonment, and what I realized was there are these stuck energy patterns that's always dwelling inside of your body. At least that's how it felt like to me. You know, there are these thoughts, these negative beliefs. I would feel these like tightness in my gut area as if like someone had punched me and I'm trying to like, you know, just squeeze it in. Also, I felt this like tightness in my chest area, and that's how I knew that I would have this fear of abandonment. The first step is to just notice how it feels for you, because it might feel something different to you. So the step number one is just notice how that feels for you. And there might be stories that comes up and you might start saying like people always leave you and things like that. So you have to really realize what kind of stories you tell, but just don't dwell upon it. And the second step is to just observe. So imagine that you are a vessel who is carrying all this energy, these thoughts and these emotions inside of you. Sometimes we do other things like we medicate. We even meditate sometimes to stay away from these emotions. And people might go out to party, drink, indulge in other things like sex and whatever, right? But just try to be with yourself and sit with this emotion. And if it makes you emotional and if you want to process this through crying or screaming, just go ahead and do that. Because until and unless you really come to terms with it, it's not going to leave you. It's just going to keep piling up and you get to this point where you're just gonna shut yourself completely. And when it comes time to socializing and being around other people, or just like maybe when it comes time to have that relationship that you really want, you're just gonna shut yourself completely, and you're just gonna look at it as if it's like a fox looking at the grapes and calling it sour just because he can't reach it anymore. Now, the step number 3 is something a little unconventional for some of you guys, but maybe for some others, you might have done this work before. But it's realizing that a part of you that exists is still that child who was hurt in the past. Now, without going to the story, what happened to you back in the day, just stay with those feelings and realize that it's not just you experiencing it, but it's that part of you, that inner child that's experiencing all these hurt. And maybe you have that emotional power to process these feelings, energies, and emotions, but that child isn't capable of that. So just try to embrace that child and give it more love. Just give it more love by maybe embracing yourself, just by putting your hands on your heart and just feeling with it. And you can talk to it, and you can just say, I'm here with you. Never gonna leave you right here. Or you can just like embrace yourself too. You know, whatever you feel like you need to do in order to make that inner child happy, please do it, because this is a very crucial part of the process. And you might need to do this over and over again. For me, for almost like a couple of weeks, I was just like waking up early in the morning, and I was having this like immense amount of this fear of abandonment come up like every single day because of something like crazy going on in my life at the time. So I would just like wake up and I would just like put my own hands on my heart, and I would kind of talk to my inner child, and I would actually imagine that he was being loved by me. I just decided to give him a lot of this unconditional love like he had never experienced before, and that's definitely something that helped me tremendously. Now, the last thing that I want you to do is just tune into the present moment. Because the more you start dissociating with this, I don't even know how to say that word, the more you start to just kind of like, disassociate with that, the energies, the emotions, and those thoughts, the more you start to be aware of what is actually going on. The steps that we did earlier, it's just going to lead to this. And when you start to just become this higher version of yourself, where you can just detach from all these things without like sweeping them under the rug. Obviously, you're actually being there for them, you're caring for them, but you also realize that those emotions, they're a part of you, but they're not you. And that's what you have to do. And when you tune into that higher form of consciousness, I just call it the God mode. I just call it the Rav's God mode. So whenever I tune into that God mode, what happens to me is that I just start to see reality as is. There is no elaboration. There is no manipulation or distortion that's going on from my mind. When I start doing that enough, I start to realize that nobody can actually ever leave me. If I'm here with myself, if this higher consciousness is always with myself right now, nobody can actually leave me. I might feel hurt, I might feel a little sad when people actually leave me out, but there's actually no need to fear, especially when I'm interacting with people. The fear of abandonment, the fear before the abandonment actually happens is not there. That's the difference that we want to make. When you start to realize that, and the fear is just going to start to dissolve away, especially after we've taken all these steps. The abandonment is probably not going to happen, and even if people reject you, it's just going to feel like no big deal. There's always going to be emotions. I'm not saying that the emotions aren't real or anything like that, but the way you're going to process your emotional capacity and your energetic capacity to process all these things, also your mental capacity, is going to be a lot more higher. And that's where we want to get to. So try those 4 steps out and just see how it works for yourself. And I really want to hear like if it helps you out or not, because it's definitely helped me to a great extent. And I don't even feel like people can't leave me anymore. Of course, I get rejected because I take a lot of actions all the time, and I'm not where I want to be yet. There's a lot of unmet expectations too. Of course, I feel hurt in those areas, right? But I don't feel abandoned before actually something happens, I don't dwell on that end result and see that people have actually left me with. So if you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And like I mentioned, if you want to work one-on-one with me, the link is down in the description below, and we can look into these kind of things that you're dealing on with your life, in your life, and how to become the best version of yourself that way. So with that being said, guys, let's end this video right now, and I'll see you again in the next video. I want to wish you all the very best. Goodbye and namaste.